update on your first alert forecast as we're looking ahead to thunderstorm chances for this afternoon and this evening, and we're also still tracking some storm potential for tomorrow morning as well. So we are tracking kind of a couple of different rounds of storms that are expected to move through mid-Michigan over the next 18 to 24 hours. So certainly looks like things will be getting active here somewhat soon. I actually do want to show you right now, just get right into this here, dive right into this. First Alert Sky Tracker, take a look at this. We're already seeing this line of storms developing pretty well, especially towards the Chicago area. I'll zoom in a little bit closer on this here. You can already see some of this lightning activity. So these are areas especially just to the north of Chicago too, between there and Kenosha. That's going to be moving right across Lake Michigan, pretty much through the rest of this 10 o'clock hour, and then we will start to see some of this activity arriving towards our southwestern areas going into the early afternoon. So looks like things actually may try to ramp up a little bit quickly here within the next couple of hours. But let me move over to our severe weather outlook just to break this down for today. So a couple of things worth noting here for this severe chance is that we do have a marginal risk for the entire TV5 area. So marginal risk, that does mean more of an isolated chance for severe weather, but still it does mean that there's some possibility that a couple of storms could reach that severe strength. And this time around here, we actually do have all hazards or all severe weather hazards possible too. So we are looking at large hail, strong wind gusts, and even an isolated tornado cannot totally be ruled out with this as well, but the tornado threat, that is relatively lower than the hail and the wind. So really, to put this another way, I do think we have a much greater likelihood of seeing some large hail or some stronger wind gusts out of any storms than a tornado. One thing to bear in mind too, if you'll be following on the radar on the TV5 First Alert weather app this afternoon, some of these storms just generally have a tendency to rotate as they get stronger. So just because it's rotating does not totally mean that there's a tornado underneath it, but it means that it does have at least that potential for that. Another thing worth noting too with that tornado, at least possibility, again, we'll say possibility or some potential there because we don't think it's impossible. We definitely can't ignore it. But what's expected to happen here is a cap is expected to develop, especially later on into the afternoon and the evening. The cap sort of inhibits upward motion of the atmosphere or air that's coming up from the ground. So that can sort of limit how strong some of those storms can get. But what we're seeing here is if we start to have some development that's above the cap, then it will have some better rotation there to be able to tap into. But again, this is going to rely on a couple of different factors. Another way to think of this cap, it's kind of like when you're boiling a pot of water on the stove and you put the lid on it. Once you take the lid off, then the steam really starts to rush out of that pot of water. So it's kind of similar to that with this cap that we generally talk about in the atmosphere. But that's what we're going to be tracking too, that may inhibit some of at least any sort of potential tornado formation. That's why, though, we really do think the hail and the stronger wind gusts will be our primary threats from these storms. And for the hail, another reason for this too is at this time of year, the upper levels of the atmosphere are colder than they would be during the summertime. This allows the storms to have a bit of an easier tendency to create hail and especially create larger hail as a result of that too. So that's why usually in the early stages of spring, even though it's not technically spring just yet, but going into sort of this transition time of year, both now and then also in the fall, that's why storms start to have a better tendency to create some hail. But we'll take you over to the First Alert hour by hour to time this out. So right now, we still don't really have any proper rain on the radar. We've had some drizzle out there this morning and no doubt some foggy conditions too, but we're pretty much just holding on to the clouds right now too. Even as we go towards noon today, we're likely still rain-free and storm-free, but just for the moment there at noon. So at the same time, we already have some of these storms moving over Grand Rapids, and those are the storms that I was just showing you a few moments ago near Chicago. These could reach into the Alma and Ithaca areas possibly as early as 1 o'clock this afternoon, maybe even 12:45 for some of the real far southwestern areas of our area like Ashley in Gratiot County, so just something to keep in mind there. Could be towards the end of the noon hour, but at the same time, these storms will be able to continue moving generally in a northeasterly direction. In Saginaw, likely during the 2 o'clock hour that you see some of the storm activity moving in as well. But these first couple of storms, not totally part of the line of thunderstorms that we're tracking for the upcoming evening. So this line of storms is going to be a bit separate from this. We'll go forward to 5 o'clock today. You see plenty of rain falling anywhere north of the Saginaw Bay, Standish, Gladwin, Clare, all areas seeing a good steady rainfall. But at this 5 o'clock time frame, we have more storms that are developing just to our southwest, closer to Grand Rapids, and then they move into our area. So at about 6 o'clock this evening, we do expect some thunderstorm activity between Midland, Bay City, and Saginaw. Should be closer to Flint at around 7, maybe even 8 o'clock this evening too. I would probably hedge more towards the 7 o'clock hour, but just all something to bear in mind. If you have dinner plans this evening at around 6 o'clock in Saginaw, you'll likely have some thunderstorms moving through. And then same goes for Flint. If you have any dinner plans, maybe you just have some plans here to visit some friends or family going into the weekend, and that's going to be around 7 o'clock in Flint, well, you do have a chance for some thunderstorms there too. And that's indicated by those darker cells, those red colors coming in on the hour by hour. This activity will continue into the evening, late evening even, just before midnight, but by about 10 or 11 o'clock, we do expect most of any severe potential to be done. The severe potential, at least that line, and I'll actually back up the hour by hour for you again, just to go back to it. The sort of organized line of storms this evening, that's mainly between about 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. So after 9 p.m. is when we start to see still, no doubt, a little bit of rain still moving through, but just not quite that organized line of storms. So as we go towards midnight, and just after midnight, we'll see the rain kind of pausing for a moment, or if anything, really just a few isolated showers. But then tomorrow morning, we will have one last round of storms moving through. So I do expect a wet start to the day tomorrow. These will be forming kind of in the same manner as today, where we have this activity developing on the west side of the state, and then it moves into the TV5 area. So at about 5 or even 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, we do expect these storms to be coming in from the west. But you'll notice here, as we'll fast forward to the next time frame at about 7 to 8 o'clock, these storms kind of run out of energy somewhat quickly, and that's something that we have been seeing too in our forecast data, even late this morning too, the most recent data that's been coming in. As these storms move in early tomorrow morning, because at that point we won't have sunshine out there, so we really will have lost one of those factors for heating. So once those storms kind of use up a lot of that energy, that does allow them to also dissipate somewhat quickly too, because there's no more additional energy to keep feeding them. So I do think tomorrow morning, no doubt it's going to be wet. You'll wake up to some rain in the morning, but especially towards Clare, Mount Pleasant, and Elma, at about 5 or 6 in the morning tomorrow, you might get woken up to some loud thunder at the very least, with those storms moving through as well. From there, we'll start to see the rain slowing down even more on Saturday afternoon. I still wouldn't rule out some lingering showers or some drizzle as we go into Saturday afternoon, but certainly won't be like the morning. And then by Sunday, we're already going back to dry weather once again. So Sunday, we do expect a mostly sunny sky. Really, the big takeaway again for this afternoon and evening and tomorrow morning is that yes, there is a chance for severe storms. We still think it's mainly just a hail and a wind threat, but it is all the reason to just stay weather aware this afternoon. If you have the TV5 First Alert weather app, you can actually set that up to have warning notifications sent right to your phone if you happen to be in an area where you do have a warning that's issued. So we'll be watching that very closely as we go into this afternoon. And we'll be here tracking this even tomorrow morning as well with that other line of storms. So as things keep developing, we'll be sure to keep you up to date on the latest information that we have for all of this storm activity. After these storms, though, we actually do expect the remainder of the weekend to be a little bit drier. It's going to be a warm weekend, but we're also tracking some wind as well. And then eventually another cool down will be on the way for next week. So we'll take a quick break here real quick. When we come back from the break, though, we'll talk more about some of those other details for your weekend as well. Alrighty, welcome back from the break. So as we're looking ahead here to the weekend, not only are we tracking the storm chances, but we're also tracking some wind, some mild temps, and we are tracking eventually some sun by the end of the weekend too. So it won't be stormy for the entire weekend. Just saying good morning too to those who are tuning in on the Facebook live stream. I am monitoring that live here. Cherry Hetrick, good morning from Gladwin. No rain in Gladwin, but it is foggy. Certainly foggy. We've seen other areas in mid-Michigan too, like Flint. It's actually almost been a little bit drizzly in Flint, or kind of misty there too. Not really like a proper rain, but still just enough moisture to still actually put some raindrops on our camera lens in Flint. And good morning to Peggy Roth as well. If you do have a question about the forecast, always feel free to put it into the comments there. I do monitor that live, so I can respond to any of your questions that you might have about the forecast or about the weekend. But let's get into the wind for this weekend too, because this is one thing that is going to be pretty noticeable too. One of these weekends where the garbage can might not be in the area or the same area that you left it, especially by the end of the day tomorrow. And it is worth noting today, we actually do expect a fairly light wind throughout the daytime today. It'll be southeasterly, about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Going into tomorrow, so this is also sort of in conjunction with the storms moving through, we really expect the wind to pick up tomorrow. It'll be a southwest wind. We'll have some gusts up to about 40 miles per hour, so quite a windy day tomorrow. And then Sunday, we'll also have some gusts near 35 miles per hour, also from the southwest. So certainly a windy weekend is going to be ahead. Sort of the good trade-off, you could say, with the wind is that it does keep the mild weather here. We have a high of 65 tomorrow and then a high of 55 on Sunday. So Wednesday, the other day, that was a very nice day, of course, with the sun and the warm-up. But if you thought that Wednesday was warm, well, tomorrow's going to be even warmer, and even Sunday, that's going to be a pretty warm day as well. So we are going to hold on to the mild weather through the weekend, and even starting next week. Monday looks nice, mostly sunny and 64. But it's also worth noting today we'll reach up to about 52 for the afternoon, so even warmer than yesterday. And something interesting to point out here on the 7-day forecast. So we do have 52 coming in for today, and then we have 51 for that low tonight. And then you see that orange arrow next to it. That's indicating warming temperatures as we go throughout the night tonight. So that's also because of that wind and these storms moving in. This air mass is not going to exactly play out like we normally see, because usually at night we see those temps falling as we go into each morning. So it's going to be kind of the opposite of that. So we'll reach 52 late this afternoon or into the early evening, say around 4 or 5 o'clock. And then we fall down to 51 degrees by about 7 or 8 o'clock this evening. So pretty much no temperature change at all. And then from there, we just keep seeing those temperatures ramping up as we go into tomorrow morning. But that high of 65 tomorrow, that should still be in the early afternoon. Eventually by Sunday, high of 55, and then again back to the mid-60s on Monday. And then we do eventually have a cool down coming in by the middle of next week. And I will say with that too, which we are kind of taking this one system at a time for now, but that system around Wednesday next week, we do expect some storm system to move through on Wednesday. We've really seen the models dancing back and forth with where exactly the storm system is going to move across mid-Michigan. But at the very least, it does look like that's going to be breaking down this weather pattern by the middle of next week. So the warmth does come to an end around Wednesday, especially Thursday. It is looking like towards Thursday and even towards next weekend too, we're going to hold on to more highs in the 30s. Interestingly though, highs in the upper 30s are actually average for this time of year. So this will actually be almost sort of like a return to average by next weekend, just indicating how warm some of these temperatures will be as we go throughout the next handful of days here, so particularly for this weekend. But just be prepared for a windy weekend, albeit a warm weekend, and take advantage of these warm temps, especially by Sunday and Monday. I do think Sunday and Monday will be some pretty decent days, especially Monday, because there shouldn't be as much wind. Just take advantage of this before that cool down comes in for the middle of next week. But before we sign off here on the First Alert Weather Show, I'll take you back to the Sky Tracker one last time. Just want to highlight again how some of these storms are already on the way to mid-Michigan. And these are the storms that we're tracking for this afternoon and for this evening, and there is some severe potential with this as well. So mainly wind gust and a large hail threat, but we still technically cannot rule out an isolated tornado, but we just want to at least make you aware of that possibility. But we do think that's a pretty low chance, especially compared to the wind and the hail threat. So just something to make you aware of. These storms are moving through Chicago, especially just north of Chicago right now, and they're starting to make their way out over Lake Michigan. So we'll be tracking these as we go into the afternoon. Speaking of tracking those storms too, tune in to the TV5 News at noon. That'll be right on air on TV5. Meteorologist Stone Schaefer, he'll be tracking those storms and the latest with this afternoon's severe weather chance. And then he'll also have another update here with another First Alert weather show on these live stream channels coming up at 2 o'clock this afternoon too. So be sure to tune in and stay weather aware for this afternoon, and hope that you all have a great rest of your Friday and have a great weekend as well. Just remember to keep that TV5 First Alert weather app handy, just so that you do get those alert notifications, and you can always check the radar on the app as well. But again, have a great Friday and take care.